Tonight, former President Goodluck Jonathan asks politicians to stop all forms of divisive rhetorics as Nigeria goes into the polls in the next 2 months. He was speaking when he hosted the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, in Bayelsa State. Benue State Governor Samuel Otum and his Akwa Ibom counterpart, Udom Emmanuel, meet to discuss ways of resolving the lingering crisis between the G5 governors and the PDP leadership. Well, it's the start of the Christmas holidays, and we take a look at the ease of travel for Nigerians, especially those taking to the skies for the long break.
And on business news, Nigeria's stock market records 212 billion naira gain as businesses wind down for Christmas.
We'll begin with politics. The search continues for an end to the rifts between some governors of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, known as the G5, and the national leadership after several months of internal crisis in the party. And in what appears to be perhaps a silver lining, a member of the G5 group and governor of Benue State, Mr. Samuel Otum, today had a private meeting with his Akwa Ibom State counterpart, Udom Emmanuel, in Uyo, the state capital. Briefing journalists after their meeting, Governor Otum doubled down on the G5 governor's demands for equity and justice.
The national leadership of the party have not been able to deploy its conflict resolution mechanism internally to solve the problems, to solve the grievance that we have. Governor Udom is one of us. He's a governor like the rest of us. And in politics, dialogue is very, very key in continuing to solve conflicts and problems that may arise as a result of conventions or congresses or whatever. Talking to each other will definitely strengthen the fortunes of the party. And in politics, as you know, it's a game of interest. No permanent enemy, no permanent friend, but permanent interests. And so we have never said we have turned our back on dialogue and reconciliation. If the terms are met, why not? We'll work. If that fits with our own interests, we'll work with it.
And on his part, Governor Udom Emmanuel, who is a chairman of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council, says the leadership of the party is open to resolving the crisis with the aggrieved governors.
In the parable of the lost sheep, only one sheep missing. Jesus Christ left the rest and went after that one. Not where you have brothers that are up to 5. You turn around on a campaign platform, you don't see them. Suddenly you feel that you need them, no matter what happens. Win or lose, these are your brothers. These are people you started together. So I think I still feel empty that we're all not together on a campaign platform. But when it comes to governance, we're all together and we all have mutual respect for each other. So it is out of that mutual respect that I feel that empty, and I need them, honestly. I mean, I can't pretend, I need them. How can you let go 5 solid governors? These are PDP governors who have a lot to show. So we listen to each other and we try to look at what's the way forward. And I want to believe it will get to a point, or is getting to that point. Somebody like me, I'm pursuing that peace, and I'm seeking that peace, and I want that peace to reign. And once we can achieve that, I'm sure our party will just walk and coast into victory.
Also, security. Back in Benue State, Governor Otum says his administration will no longer pay compensation for any animal killed by security forces or men of the Benue State Community Volunteer Guards while enforcing the anti-open grazing law. He was speaking in the state capital, Makurdi, during the presentation of 30 operational vehicles and 1,000 motorcycles to members of the Benue State Community Volunteer Guards and traditional rulers. This is expected to increase surveillance operations and intelligence gathering at the ward level.
30 operational vehicles and over 1,000 motorcycles have been procured by the Benue State government to be distributed to members of the state volunteer guards and ward heads. The move by the Benue State government is to help secure rural communities from persistent attacks. Governor Samuel Otom formally inaugurates the vehicles and motorcycles to the admiration of the beneficiaries. Governor Otom, who is a victim of a recent attack on his farm, rescinds the practice of compensating herders who lost their cattle during rustling or impoundment.
Do ranching. But if you think you are above the law, the commissioner of police is there, the security agencies are there to apprehend you. And of course, our lifestyle guards and our community volunteer guards are there to enforce the laws of our land. But if anything happened to you and your livestock, don't come and complain and say that government will pay. Government should pay you compensation. I will not do that.
The idea of presenting the vehicles to security operatives and traditional rulers is to improve local intelligence gathering and surveillance, and ultimately curtail attacks on rural communities.
What is happening now, the TOT is so worried. There's no day the herdsmen don't pass through Nasarawa to Benue. They come and maim in the night. Even today, they kill in Kaduna. And they do this in the night. They go and get the women that maybe have gone to to fetch water. They are doing this on a daily basis.
For effective service delivery at the domain of these traditional rulers, we believe that these bikes will really enhance them, will really add to what they have been doing. These are traditional rulers that are very close to the people. We are talking about 276 traditional rulers. Those are the number of wards that we have in Benue State.
This move by the state government is aimed at adding value to the level of community protection that will enable displaced persons access to their ancestral homes.
And in Kaduna State, troops of the Nigerian military's Operation Forest Sanity have neutralized 10 bandits and recovered 6 operational motorcycles during ambush patrols in Chikun and Benue general areas. According to the Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Mr. Samuel Ariwan, the troops set up ambush positions at bandits' crossing points in the Benue areas. He says the troops haven't made contact with the bandits, neutralized 8 of them, and also recovered 4 motorcycles and 3 mobile phones in the first successful mission. In a similar operation, troops neutralized 2 bandits during clearance patrols along the Sabon-Benue, Meidaro, Dogondawa, Galadimawa, Kida axis and recovered 1 AK-47 rifle, 2 magazines loaded with 52 rounds, 6 motorcycles and 3 mobile phones during the operation. They also dislodged camps around Garke and Galadimawa in Giwa local government area, recovering 3 Dane guns, 2 magazines, some military uniforms and 9 motorcycles. Well, it's pretty tough times for travel as some residents in the nation's capital, Abuja, and neighboring Kaduna State who are traveling to celebrate Christmas with their loved ones in other parts of the country are lamenting the hike in the cost of transportation. But the passengers blame the scarcity of premium motor spirit, also called petrol, for the hike in prices. Meanwhile, authorities of the Nigerian Railway Corporation have also increased fares on the Abuja-Kaduna route during the festive period.
This is Utako Motor Park in Abuja. It's mostly busy, and with the holidays, it's even busier. Residents in the nation's capital are rushing to travel to celebrate with their loved ones in other parts of the country. However, there are challenges of a hike in transport, which is worsened by overloading of passengers.
Well, the thing has been a stressful time for us here. The hike in price of transportation in the last 3 to 4 months, it has gone more than 50%. We used to go from here 1,005. Even when in the loading arrangement, used to be 3 passengers at the military at the back and 1 at the front. But right now, they are charging 2,005.
It's not unusual that transport fares increase during festivals. But this time it has coincided with fuel scarcity And we know our systems in Nigeria, everybody capitalizes on the other person's misfortune. And, well, we are bearing the brunt.
The story of a sharp increase in fares is also the same at the Rigasa train station, Kaduna State. Large number of passengers are commuting on the Kaduna-Abuja train service. The March 28 terrorist attack on this train service did not deter passengers from patronizing the route. However, it comes at a higher cost than usual.
Honestly speaking, it's my first time since that incident and I was a little bit scared, but coming on board and seeing the way things are done now, it's quite different from how it used to be before, and I'm okay.
I clicked and I saw the 9,000 naira. I was like, wow, this 9,000 naira is much, because I was expecting to see something lesser.
Notwithstanding the hike, those who are eager to reach their destination to celebrate Christmas with their loved ones say traveling by train is still the best.
It's a sharp increment, so to say. Nevertheless, it's still, I consider it, you still can't compare going by train and then going by road. I mean, neither will you compare it with the prices of the aircraft.
As Nigerians mark the Christmas celebration, they are hoping that the government will find lasting solutions to the lingering security challenges in the country and also improve on the welfare of the citizenry.
We'll bring you more on Christmas travels in a moment, but let's head over to the executive, where the fight against corruption continues to feature prominently in conversations in that arm of government. And this time, President Muhammadu Buhari is looking at the possibility of domiciling the whistleblowing policy of the federal government at the Public Complaints Commission. Well, the president made the comment when he received the chief commissioner of the commission, Mr. Abimbola Ayer Yusuf. Our State House correspondent Gloria Mezoke reports.
The whistleblowing policy have for days prevailed in conversations in the executive arm. As President Muhammadu Buhari receives the Public Complaint Commission at the council chamber, the chief commissioner, who led members of the management team on a courtesy visit, makes a case. He believes the commission can do much more than receiving complaints.
Your Excellency, sir, because of the Commission's peculiar power to generate complaints by itself and the mandate to refer complaints with criminal content to the appropriate law enforcement agencies, Public Complaints Commission should thus become the hub of the government's website, blowing policy as it is best suited to provide the needed confidentiality for whistleblowers. The Commission has, however, the years served as the chair of Interagency Task Force on Anti-Corruption. We are able to secretly receive, investigate, process, and refer cases from whistleblowers to relevant agencies for further investigation and prosecution while protecting the whistleblower.
In his response, the president affirms the commission's ability to handle the policy, which the Minister of Finance recently says has lost momentum.
I urge you to use your privileged position and numerous offices in all the states of the Federation and your significant presence in many local government areas to protect the interests of the downtrodden and sensitize the citizenry on their rights and obligations, particularly the need to ensure a free, fair, and credible election and a smooth democratic transition and transfer of power 2023.
Ahead of the 2023 elections, President Buhari equally urged the Commission to protect the will of the people.
I want to assure you that the Commission will be considered as the agency where the policy will be domiciled, given your widespread network of offices and the fact that your mandate on referral of complaints with criminal content to appropriate law enforcement agencies made your commission the best suited agency for domiciling whistleblowing policy of the federal government.
The president also promised speedy consideration of the commission's ability to own a radio station to enhance public enlightenment. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, we bring you more on the travel experience of Nigerians for the holidays, especially those taking to the skies for the extended weekend break. Well, that's in a moment. Do stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, live on Channels Television. A reminder of our main stories. Former President Goodluck Jonathan asks politicians to stop all forms of divisive rhetoric as Nigeria goes to the polls in the next 2 months. He was speaking when he hosted the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, in Bayelsa State. Benue State Governor Samuel Otum and his Akwa Ibom counterpart Udom Emmanuel meet to discuss ways of resolving the lingering crisis between the G5 governors and PDP leadership. It's the start of the Christmas holidays, and we take a look at the travel experience of Nigerians, especially those taking to the skies for the extended weekend break. And on international news, millions of people across the United States brace up for once-in-a-generation storm, with temperatures reaching as low as minus 50 degrees. Packed airports and long flight delays is the story as Nigerians make their way to different parts of the country to spend the Christmas holidays with their loved ones. Our next report highlights some of the experiences of passengers flying during the festive season.
The situation at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja appears chaotic as passengers make last-minute efforts to confirm their flight out of the capital city. Some passengers share their thoughts on the cost of flight tickets and other services rendered at the airport.
The number of people traveling, and despite the fact that the cost of flights is so high, so I was wondering what could make people to choose, spending so much money, including myself, to fly. Just right there, somebody was saying the road is bad. People could have traveled with their personal cars and all that. But it's really crazy here because the workers are overwhelmed, the travelers are overwhelmed.
The cost of ticket is terrible. Of course, everybody knows that they will be complaining about the dollar exchange and the rest of them. I don't know how that affects our local economy that bad. The tickets are out of this world. Just a simple trip from here to Owerri is 102,000–3,000 naira by Dana. And I guess Equities might be charging a lot more higher because they appear to be higher in rating. It's something else.
However, it's not all woes, as some passengers commend the authorities and airlines for managing the situation.
Actually, so far so good. They are doing well. But some of the equipment, like elevator now, is not moving well the way people are expecting it.
In Lagos, the story is the same as the terminals are packed, reflecting the time of year. And it's not just the terminals that are packed, the flights too, as the passenger shares his difficulty in getting a seat.
The airlines going to Asaba for this time, they're all booked out. A few guys here are trying to also, okay, we can get you a ticket, we can get you a ticket. So just around that. So finally, I got a ticket for 99,000. Yes, going to Asaba one way.
For others, it's the long delays by some airlines.
We are meant to leave by 11 a.m. Okay. But due to flight delay, they extended it to 6 p.m. Even though we didn't hear anything from them, but when we went there to check in to see how far, that is the time they have to tell us that it's 6 p.m. Oh, it's very horrible.
A young woman here who wants a voice to be heard and not her face seen says it's also a story of frustration.
We just came here and they said it's been delayed. I requested for a refund and it took, in fact, it's just very devastating. I mean, we have, like me, I have an appointment to meet up, but I'm here now and I don't have a choice. I didn't get the refund. They said 2 weeks. And of course, my refund was supposed to be for another airline, but 2 weeks. I just didn't have a choice. I've been ranting and shouting, but I'm tired, I'm fed up.
Meanwhile, the airline operators of Nigeria had on Tuesday, the 20th of December, announced that passengers should brace up for impending disruptions in flight operations due to the scarcity of aviation fuel.
Well, thankfully, we can bring in Terry Kumi without air travel hassles. He joins us from our Abuja studios with more stories on the news at 10. Good evening, Terry. It's good to see you.
Good evening, Kayode. I see the crowd and I wonder how they will cope, especially the airlines. It's quite some traffic there.
Indeed.
Let's begin with the story. Some cheery news for farmers in Ogoniland in Rivers State, as the international oil giant Shell says it will pay 15 million euros to them as compensation for damage from pipeline leaks. This follows a ruling by a Dutch appeal court last year after 13 years of legal battles that Shell's Nigerian branch must pay out for a series of leaks and that the parent company must install new pipeline equipment to prevent further devastating spills. According to AFP, Shell said it had reached a deal with the environmental group, the Dutch branch of Friends of the Earth, that has helped the affected communities. The deal also confirms the installation of a leak detection system on 20 pipeline segments in accordance with the Dutch court's ruling, and that remediation work has been completed. 4 Nigerian farmers and fishermen had sued Shell in the Netherlands to pay for cleaning up spills from its pipelines in the Niger Delta, although Shell had attributed the pollution to sabotage. The asset recovery panel set up by the Osun government has directed the immediate past governor of the state, Gboyega Oyetola, and his wife, Sherifat, to return official vehicles in their possession. This was announced in a statement by the spokesperson of Governor Ademola Adeleke Olawale Rashid. The statement adds that the chairman of the asset recovery panel, Tokumbo Salami, says the directive also applies to former appointees of the state, adding that there is no law in the state that authorizes any elected or appointed official to leave with state vehicles after the completion of their tenure. The panel also requested that the former Deputy Governor Benedict Alabi, former Chief of Staff Charles Akinola, and former Deputy Chief of Staff Abdullahi Binuyu return the official vehicles in their possession. Now, a day after he promised to reveal his preferred presidential candidate in the coming days, Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike has advised politicians to refrain from lies in the name of campaigning and seeking political favors. Governor Wike was speaking during the inauguration of dualized Bori Corner Road, a landmark project in Kana local government area of the state.
Bori Corner Road.
The dualized Bori Corner Road in Kana local government area is the new phase of the over 33-kilometer Sakbenwa Corner Road in the Ogoni ethnic nationality of Rivers State. Measuring about 17.2 kilometers, the project cost more than 14 billion naira. It is considered strategic for the socio-economic development of a people still demanding justice for alleged environmental and human rights abuses.
Your Excellency, you know, when you want to develop a place, you give it access. Like you already know, Your Excellency, our people basically do fishing and farming. And one of our greatest problems is, how do you get what you have produced to the market? That is where this very important infrastructure comes in.
The beauty of this dualized road is that it's not the normal or the conventional 7.3 meter width. Each lane of this road has 8 meter width and 2.7 meters shoulder. At the median, we have a 1.5 meter median. And so if you take the total width of the road, you have 23 kilometers.
Before making his speech, Governor Nyesom Wike requests for a minute's silence in honor of late Barinia Wifa, a senior advocate of Nigeria who influenced the construction of this second phase. The state governor tells the people of Ogoni to ignore the campaign of calumny against him.
It's not when people give you money. You go on radio. You go on television. Some of you went on radio to warn me. Who is that person? Me. When I go back, don't warn me. It's you. Warn me. That's okay. I will come. Let me see that person that would try it.
He also has a word for the chairman of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council in Rivers State.
You don't need to be a minister by telling lies. You don't need to be close to a president by telling lies. You don't need to be close to a presidential candidate by concocting lies. You don't need to. If you are qualified, if you think they are so close to whoever you think that will be president, and you see you as a qualified person, it is not through lies that you need to be appointed.
It's now time for the formal commissioning of the road. The completion of this road will no doubt help improve the socio-economic activities of the people of Ogoni in Rivers State.
Still ahead on the news at 10. Nigeria's stock market records 212 billion naira gain as businesses wind down for Christmas. Please stay with us.
Well, the festive season, nonetheless, politicking is still in the air. And former President Goodluck Jonathan is asking politicians to stop all forms of divisive rhetorics as the country goes to the polls in about 2 months. Well, Dr. Jonathan was speaking when he hosted the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, in his Yenagoa residence in Bayelsa State. Disappointed over what he describes as the extreme divisions in the country, the former president stated that no divided country can make progress. Mr. Obi, who is making his final campaign stop for the year in Bayelsa, had visited the former president after his campaign rally in the state. The Labour Party's last presidential campaign rally for the year is holding in Yenagoa, the Bayelsa state capital. And before making his way to the rally ground, the party's presidential flag bearer, Mr. Peter Obi, meets with the leadership of the Pan-Niger Delta Forum. The group seeks concrete guarantees from the presidential candidate, saying they are tired of unfulfilled promises. Labour Party! Mr. Obi then makes his way to the rally ground where he highlights some of the qualities the electorate must watch out for before voting any candidate next year.
Go and verify our background. I and Dati are work creators. He has worked hard, I've worked hard, we've created wealth, and that's the one we want to do with Nigeria. It requires people who have capacity. It requires people who have commitment. Above all, it requires physical and mental energy.
From the campaign ground, he heads straight to the residence of former President Goodluck Jonathan, who commended his campaign style. However, he also has some admonitions for politicians.
If we must move forward, we must leave those sentiments aside. Every nation, every country, they have their own history. A Nigerian must see himself as a Nigerian, and we must see ourselves as one. And if I am the president, if the best person to hold a particular office is either from Enugu or from Ibadan or from Sokoto or from Yenagoa or from Calabar, it doesn't matter.
Mr. Obi also met with the State Council of Traditional Rulers and had a town hall meeting with youths where he answered several of their questions. The Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, NCDMB, is partnering 15 firms to set up projects covering modular refining, gas processing and distribution, power generation and manufacturing. Well, this is according to the General Manager Corporate Communications at the board, Dr. Gina. But Dr. Gina also disclosed that the board has also increased its content performance for the year by 54%, surpassing the 42% target it had set out to establish this year.
Resonate with power. So
the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, NCDMB, is holding its annual content capacity building workshop for stakeholders in the media. The General Manager Corporate Communication and Zonal Coordination, Dr. Ginagina underscores the importance of this year's theme, which is in line with the federal government's objectives to fully exploit the nation's gas resources and to accelerate the development of the economy.
The NCDMB has also taken deliberate steps to actualize the federal government's declarations in gas and other aspects of the oil and gas value chain. We are here for value chain, so you can see the relevance of value chain's work right here. We have partnered with credible investors to develop critical projects in the sector to take Nigeria towards that goal.
He further speaks on other projects the board is working on with sister agencies, adding that these collaborations have helped to create employment for Nigerian youths and achieve the 10-year strategic roadmap.
Above all, the investments by the NCDMB are helping to create employment opportunities for Nigerian youths, catalyze the local economy, and achieve the Nigerian Content 10-year strategic roadmap.
The manager, Corporate Communications, speaks on the implications of the Nigerian content performance for 2022, which increased from 42% to 54%.
Prior to when NCDMB was established in 2010, they were only spending $5 of every $100 in country, 5% or less. But we've been able to move the needle by our activities to 54%. And that has been possible because of the active support we have received from stakeholders, particularly the media.
Some of the companies the board works with are backed by the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act to assist local contractors and Nigerian companies to develop their capabilities to attain the goal of developing Nigerian content in the Nigerian oil and gas industry.
It's time for business news on the news at 10. Here's Willie Bunk.
Thanks, Coyote. Now, the total market value of commercial papers traded on the FMDQ Securities Exchange Limited's platform from inception in 2014 has climbed to 3.25 trillion naira as at the end of November this year. The exchange made this known in a statement even as it announced the admission of the quotation of the Rand Merchant Bank Nigeria Limited's 2.36 billion naira Series 3 and Series 4 CPs under its 80 billion naira commercial paper program. According to the FMDQ, the proceeds from the quotation of the quoted CPs will be utilized by the issuer to support its short-term working capital and funding requirements. Now, Facebook's owner, Meta, has agreed to pay $725 million to settle legal action over a data breach linked to political consultancy Cambridge Analytica, the largest sum in a U.S. data privacy class action. The long-running dispute accused the social media giant of allowing third parties, including the British firm, to access Facebook users' personal data. Meanwhile, Meta, which did not admit the wrongdoing, says it has revamped its approach to privacy over the past 3 years. In a statement, the company said settling was in the best interest of their community and shareholders. Now, in the UK, strikes by Border Force staff at airports could go on for months unless the government enters talks over pay, and that's according to the Public and Commercial Services Union, PCS. The head of the PCS union, Mark Sewatka, says the union has a mandate for walkouts until May next year. Around 1,000 Border Force staff who check passports are staging the first of a series of strikes from Friday to 26th of December and from the 28th of December to the 31st of December. Thousands of travelers arriving in the UK have been told to expect delays, but so far disruption has been minimal. And in Asia, Japan's core consumer price inflation jumps to 3.7% in November, the highest level since 1981. This comes as companies continue to pass on rising costs to households, and a sign price hikes were expanding and could keep the central bank under pressure. Earlier this week, the Bank of Japan, this BOJ, made a surprise tweak to its yield control policy, raising the cap on the interest rate on its 10-year government bonds from 0.25% to 0.5%. Until now, the BOJ had kept its ultra-loose monetary policy to boost its economy. But after decades of the country trying to boost inflation, Japanese consumers are now experiencing the pain of higher prices despite stagnant wages. Now to the equities market, where stocks gained 212 billion naira to date as markets wind down for the Christmas holiday. Laddie Williams tells us more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report, and we end the final trading day before Christmas in the green. And it's a big one there, almost 0.5%, 0.40%, and about 300 points shy of the 50K level. But market cap on new level there, 27.073 trillion naira. Let's look at the activity chart there. Subdued buying pressure compared to yesterday. 140 million units of stocks valued at 4.02 billion naira. Let's look at the top gainers counter. We see Gary Gould topping that counter there, 115 naira, 50 kobo, up 10%. We see Thomas Wyatt there, also at 81 kobo, closing up 9.46%. Flip over to the losers counter now. We see GPLC there, topping that counter, 60 kobo. We also have Chams, 22 kobo, down 4.35%. That's a nicely positive market breadth. 30 stocks posted gains, while 10 stocks declined. I guess we can say we got a Santa rally. And that's a Stock Market Report. I'm Laddie Williams. It's back to you.
And that's it on Business News. It's back to Kayode for the rest of the news.
Well, thanks, Will. Still to come on the news at 10, millions of people across the United States brace up for a once-in-a-generation storm with temperatures reaching as low as minus 50 degrees. Do stay with us.
This is what they call 21st century. When my customer say I want to use POS, I will just bring out my phone, open the application, press this code. I don't have anyone that's using POS anymore.
Well, 3 people have died and 4 more are injured after gunshots were fired this morning in a central district of Paris, the French capital. The Paris police said they were dealing with an incident in the 10th arrondissement and urged the public to stay away from the area. Well, Simon Pusey has more international stories in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. More than 135 million people across the United States are bracing themselves for a once-in-a-generation storm, with temperatures reaching as low as minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit. The alerts stretch from coast to coast and reach as far south as the US-Mexico border and Florida. Footage here from Rapid City in South Dakota of strong winds and snow covering everything in the storm's path. And this the scene in North Dakota. More than 135 million people are under weekend weather alerts ahead of the busiest travel days of the year. Here in Montana, it is so cold that boiling water instantly turns to snow. Major airports have cancelled thousands of flights as the storm intensifies. Plunging temperatures of minus 50 and minus 70 degrees Fahrenheit are possible in some parts of the country. Experts warn this could lead to frostbite within 5 to 10 minutes. Speaking in the Oval Office ahead of a weather briefing, President Joe Biden advised those with holiday travel plans to leave now before conditions worsen.
Please take this storm extremely seriously. And I don't know whether your bosses will let you, but if you all have travel plans, leave now. Not a joke. I'm sending my staff, if they had plans to leave on tomorrow, late tonight or tomorrow, I'm telling them to leave now. They can talk to me on the phone. It's not life and death, but it will be if they don't get out. They may not get out.
A gunman has opened fire in central Paris, killing 2 people and wounding 4 others. The shooting took place close to a Kurdish cultural centre not far from the Gare de l'Est station. A suspect, aged 69, was quickly detained by police in connection with the attack. Authorities appealed for people to avoid the area in Rue d'Enghien in the 10th district in Strasbourg-Saint-Denis. A French serial killer known as the Serpent, convicted of several tourist murders in Asia in the 1970s, has been released from a Nepalese prison. Charles Sobrage, seen here leaving prison surrounded by guards, was freed after a court ruled in favour of his age and good behaviour. There is intense media interest in him after the story was covered in the TV drama The Serpent. The notorious killer had been concurrently serving 2 sentences, each 20 years, in Nepal's capital Kathmandu for the 1975 murder of an American woman and her Canadian backpacker friend. But Nepal's Supreme Court ordered Sobrage's release after his legal team successfully filed a petition claiming he should be given a concession on his prison term due to health reasons. A suicide car bombing at a checkpoint in Pakistan's capital of Islamabad has killed 1 police officer and injured several others. That's according to the Interior Ministry. Initial information indicates there were a man and a woman in the car, and the man blew himself up during a body search. The car was packed with explosives and headed for a high-value target in the capital. The bombing took place near police headquarters on a main road that leads to government buildings housing the country's parliament and high offices. The former FTX boss, Sam Bankman-Fried, will face home detention while awaiting trial in the US on charges that he defrauded customers and investors of the collapsed cryptocurrency exchange. A US judge said the 30-year-old former billionaire could be released to his parents on a $250 million bond. At the hearing, Mr. Bankman-Fried did not admit or deny guilt. 2 of Mr. Bankman-Fried's closest colleagues pleaded guilty to fraud on Wednesday and are helping with the investigation. And at a refugee camp in southern Chad, around 300 children got to share in the global Christmas spirit thanks to a visit from Santa Claus. Chad itself, one of the poorest countries in the world, hosts more than 600,000 refugees. Displaced by conflicts across Central Africa, many of the children living in the Dembo refugee camp have never had the chance to celebrate the holiday or even received a Christmas gift. But thanks to a Christmas tree ceremony organised by the World Bank, many got to celebrate for the very first time. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. 7-time champions Nigeria have been drawn in Group A of the 2023 Africa Under-20 Cup of Nations, scheduled for Egypt on February the 19th to March the 11th. While the Flying Eagles will square up against host nation Egypt, Senegal and Mozambique. Well, the draw held in Cairo this evening also placed Uganda, the Central African Republic, South Sudan and Congo in Group B, while the Gambia, Tunisia, Benin Republic and Zambia will slot it out in Group C. It's the first time that the Africa Under-20 Cup of Nations will witness 12 teams, with the 4 top teams in Egypt qualifying to represent Africa at the FIFA Under-20 World Cup Finals already slated for May the 20th to June the 11th in Indonesia. Manchester United coach Erik ten Hag says he is aware that his club's excessive spending in the transfer window means there is pressure to finish in the top 4. Now, United have spent more than £200 million to bring in Brazilian duo Antony and Casemiro from Ajax and Real Madrid, respectively. Well, Argentine World Cup winner Lisandro Martinez and Dutch fullback Tyrell Malacia. United are 5th in the current standings, 3 points off the top 4.
The competition is tough, but I think it counts for all the 7-8 clubs who are fighting for the top 4. For all the one who watch follow the Premier League is great because they will be excited there. You have to really battle for every duel to get your points. And what I'm looking at the process, how we're performing, and of course we have to get the results as well. But if the process is right, when we get the right progress, then I think we have a good opportunity and we have a good chance to get into that top 4.
Or to South America, where thousands of fans attended a tribute event to welcome Emiliano Dibu Martinez in his hometown in Mar del Plata after winning the Qatar 2022 FIFA World Cup, where Martinez won the Golden Glove trophy, an award given to the tournament's best goalkeeper. The local media reported over 150,000 people attended the event. Massive celebrations have taken over the South American country since the team lifted the World Cup against France on Sunday. Former France international and World Cup winner Blaise Matuidi has announced his retirement at the age of 35. Well, the midfielder, who has not played this year after he was omitted from Inter Miami's 2022 roster, has officially called time on his career. Well, an 84-cap veteran for Les Bleus, Matuidi was a member of Didier Deschamps' Russia 2018 World Cup winning squad, starting 4 matches of their matches, including the 4-2 success victory over Croatia in the final. Matuidi, who made his senior debut with Troy in 2004, was spent over the first decade of his career in his home country, moving to Saint-Etienne and then PSG in 2011. And that's a wrap on Sports News. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. It's back to you, Kaido.
Well, thanks a lot, Ayotunde. And the main news again. Former President Goodluck Jonathan today asks politicians to stop all forms of divisive rhetoric as Nigeria goes to the polls in the next 2 months. He was speaking when he hosted the presidential candidate of Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, in Bayelsa State. And that's news at 10 for tonight. On behalf of all of us here at Channels Television, here's wishing you a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Good night.